Morning, everyone. So let's start with the part two of module five. Before we start with the second part, let's just recap what we did yesterday. So yesterday we looked at the optical network evolution, starting from the first generation, which consists of SONET and SDH, and the second generation, which moved towards wavelength routing. And the whole idea of moving from one generation to the next is to utilize the bandwidth of the optical fiber much better. And then 5 to 10 years down the line, we are hoping to see uh, developments in terms of optical burst switching, optical packet switching, or even hybrid uh, switching, which will give better process and better use of bandwidth from the optical fiber. After that, we looked at the optical network concept, which involves the idea of using a light path. So you have physical connections between the nodes through the use of optical fiber, and then you also have the use of light path, which is nothing but a virtual or logical connection between the nodes. Also, the optical nodes within a network can be a source, a destination, or it can be a router. So we looked at those concepts, and we also looked at various topologies like the ring, the bus, the star, and the mesh topology. And we said that the mesh topology is the one that we need to use. However, it is very complex. Then we looked at network modes. What could be the modes? The network switching modes like connection oriented, connectionless oriented, circuit switching, packet or cell switching, and then network routing, how you can route the connection between the source and the destination. So in today's lecture, we are going to see optical network nodes and switching elements. So we are going to concentrate on what are the switching elements which are used so that transmission and reception can be done between the source and the destination. So as we have already discussed, the optical node is a multifunctional element because it can be used as a transmitter, a receiving element, or it can be used for routing. So that's what the second point mentioned. It sends, receives, and resends or redirects. So redirects means it can be used as a router. Uh, the resending or redirecting, that is the routing functionality, it requires the node to perform a routing or switching function. So you are switching between one node to the other. The first node can be the source node and the second node can be the destination. Right? So uh, So when you have several optical signals which travel in a multiplexed form, you require these nodes to be multifunctional. That means that you require these nodes to transmit, receive, as well as route the entire signal. And this entire networking node and all the nodes in the network become system dependent. System dependent means what is the kind of topology which you are using. If you are using, let's say, a bus topology, then it should be, the transmission should be bidirectional. If you are using a ring topology, it should be unidirectional, so on and so forth. So different forms of multiplexings can be used. You can use a TDM or FDM, but as we have discussed in the previous lecture, in terms of optical networks, we prefer the wavelength division multiplexing, wherein each user is assigned a particular wavelength, and the signal from each user travels over that particular wavelength. Very important to notice that uh, we should have the functionality of being able to reuse the wavelength. So I've just mentioned that the node can function as a router, which directs the input signal to a specified output. And in that case, the node can be called as a wavelength router. Uh, Yesterday we discussed that there should be a continuity constraint. There should be a continuity constraint which we must follow, wherein all the wavelengths which you are using between the source and the destination must be the same over all the links. However, it will be very difficult to have this constraint or meet this constraint because the wavelengths are very limited. Therefore, it is also possible to change the wavelength of the signal before sending it. However, in that case, we need to use a device which is known as a wavelength converter. So when we use a wavelength converter, you can change a wavelength, let's say lambda 1 to lambda 2, and the wavelength continuity constraint can be removed, so to say. However, when you use the wavelength wavelength converter, then in that case, the cost of the network is going to increase. So when we use the wavelength converter for routing between a source and the destination, then in that case the device is known as a wavelength routing switch, or just very simply an optical switch. So let's see what basically an optical switch is. So this optical switch is used to perform functions like multiplexing, demultiplexing, and switching. Okay, so the term switching may be a little difficult to understand, but it basically means that you get a node gets a signal from another node, and then redirects this signal to another node. So that is known as switching. So in the rest of the lectures, we are just going to refer to it as optical switches. In some books and websites, they also refer to it as wavelength switches, but we'll stick to optical switches. And to design these optical switches, you need some integrated optical or optoelectronic devices. Optoelectronic means some part of the device is optical, whereas the other part of it is electrical. So a very good example of that is regenerators, OEO regenerators, where the signal is received in the form of optics, that is light, converted back to electricity, so OE, and then amplified, and then that amplified electrical signal is then converted back to the optical signal. So this process is known as OEO device or regeneration. So the four functions of an optical router, you can use it as a wavelength demultiplexer, wavelength multiplexer. The third one is very important, optical add drop multiplexer. And the fourth one as a 2x2 optical switch, or very important, reconfigurable optical add drop multiplexer. So reconfigurable means that you can always better this kind of device. So we'll look at 3 and 4 a little later. So this is the diagrams and devices which we are going to discuss today. So A is basically a wavelength demultiplexer. So you can see that there's an incoming signal which is on lambda 1 and lambda 2, and then you have a wavelength multiplexer in diagram B, where you have two signals at the input, and these are combined into single signal lambda 1. If someone has their audio, is muted. If someone has their camera, please switch it off, because I'm recording this session. Please switch off your camera and your audio. The third part C is an optical add drop multiplexer. So before we go into the detail, you can see that you have lambda 1, lambda 2, and lambda 3. One signal which is a combination of these three wavelengths, and you are dropping or letting go of one wavelength lambda 1, whereas on the right hand side you are adding a wavelength lambda 4. Therefore what you get at the output will be lambda 2, lambda 3, and lambda 4. So there is a mistake in this diagram which is also there in the book. So I'll just repeat the mistake. If you look at diagram C, the incoming signal comprises of lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3. On the left hand side, you are dropping wavelength lambda 1. Therefore, we are left with wavelength lambda 2 and lambda 3. On the right hand side, we are adding a new wavelength lambda 4. Therefore, the output signal will now comprise of lambda 2, lambda 3, and lambda 4. So there is a mistake on the output signal. And then finally, you have the 2x2 switch. So you can see that we have lambda 1, lambda 2 as one input, lambda 3, lambda 4 as another input, and then those are switched in such a way that the output becomes lambda 1, lambda 3, lambda 2, lambda 4. So there is a crisscross on the output. And then finally, the most important kind of a switch, which is known as a reconfigurable add drop multiplexer. So I will talk about this last device a little later. This is the device which is used in optical networks these days. So let's look at these devices one by one. So you have a wavelength demultiplexer. Demultiplexer, very easy to see what this demultiplexer is seeing. We are having a signal with two, which is a combination of two wavelengths, lambda 1, lambda 2. And the demultiplexer's job will be to split them into two parts, lambda 1 and lambda 2. So that is what is happening there. And then the next job will be to route them towards their particular receivers. So here you should note that the input signal comprising of lambda 1, lambda 2 is occupying more bandwidth because the data is from two users, lambda 1 and lambda 2, whereas the output signal is separate, lambda 1 and lambda 2, which is occupying lesser bandwidth. The next is a wavelength multiplexer. So it is a three-port device, which is what is shown here, and it does exactly the opposite of a demultiplexer. So you have lambda 1 and lambda 2 from signals from two separate users. The job of the multiplexer will be to combine them into a single signal comprising of lambda 1, lambda 2. So in terms of bandwidth, input comprises of lambda 1 and lambda 2. Therefore, the bandwidth of lambda 1 and lambda 2 is lesser separately. However, the bandwidth of the output signal, lambda 1, lambda 2, the combination will occupy more bandwidth. The third one is an optical add drop multiplexer. So I will repeat this again. There is a mistake here from the book. So you can see that the input is a single signal comprising of three wavelengths, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3. And we are dropping wavelength lambda 2. In the previous diagram, which was wrong, we were dropping lambda 1. So this one is the correct diagram. Here we are dropping lambda 2. So out of lambda 1, 2 and 3, now we are left with lambda 1 and lambda 3. On the right hand side, we are adding lambda 4. So therefore, the output signal is lambda 1, lambda 3, lambda 4. Right? So one can ask, what is the use of such a multiplexer? The use of such a multiplexer is that the user's receiver may be existing at any point on the network. So you may want to send one of the signals to a receiver at an earlier stage rather than the entire stretch of the network. So this kind of a multiplexer gives us the flexibility to drop a signal at any time, and also gives us the flexibility to add a signal at any time. Therefore, you don't need to have just a source and a receiver. So the OADM, this will be in short. I'm expecting this question in the exam on OADM because it is one of the most important components. So an optical add drop multiplexer, it comprises basically of a wavelength add drop device. In some books it is also written at WATD. So you have incoming signal comprising of three wavelengths, and it is partially demultiplexed by dropping lambda 2 at the intermediate port. And then on the right hand side, the OADM further adds another wavelength, lambda 4, which is then multiplexed with the transmitted signal. So the job is very simple: add and drop the signals as and when it is desired. So the devices are configured to drop any particular wavelength and also add any particular wavelength. However, here we must note that the adding and dropping is fixed in the sense that we already know what we are going to add, which wavelength we are going to add, and we already know which wavelength we are going to drop. Therefore, this kind of an OADM is known as a fixed OADM. In some books, also written as a static OADM. The reason being, you can add and drop the wavelengths. However, knowing which wavelength to add and knowing which wavelength to drop is known beforehand. So this kind of an OADM is known as a static OADM. Next, we come to a 2x2 optical switch. So you can see that on the left hand side you have lambda 1 and lambda 2, which is a combined signal on top, and then you have lambda 3, lambda 4, which is a combined signal at the bottom. And then you can see what is happening there. Lambda 3, lambda 4 gets converted into lambda 1, lambda 3, whereas lambda 1, lambda 2 gets converted back into lambda 2, lambda 4. So there is a crisscross of the wavelengths. So 1 is crisscrossed with 4 and 2 is crisscrossed with 3. So this kind of a switch is required when the input is on port 1, but the output, the receiver, is on port 4. The input is on port 2, but the output is on port 3. So we need a crisscross device like this, and it is easy to see why it is called a 2 cross 2 optical switch, because it has 2 inputs and 2 outputs. So that is what is written here. 2 cross 2 switch has 2 inputs and 2 output ports. The 2 optically multiplexed signals comprising lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, lambda 4 are present at input ports 1 and 2 respectively. Uh, At the output ports, the wavelengths are required to be switched and multiplexed as lambda 1, lambda 3, and lambda 2, lambda 4, emerging at the output ports 3 and 4 respectively. So using this approach, you can always increase the number of ports. So you can have a 2 cross 2 optical switch as a 3 cross 3 optical switch, 4 cross 4, and finally n cross n optical switch, where n is very, very large. So these are some of the most important devices which are used. Uh, However, most of these devices which we have discussed, they are static devices, and static devices will not work in a scenario where the demand from the customer is dynamic. So therefore, we need to have dynamic devices, or what are known as reconfigurable devices. And this is one of the most important device which is used in current optical networks. It is known as a reconfigurable OADM. So it basically does the adding and dropping of the channels, which a normal OADM will do. However, it is reconfigurable, which implies that uh, it gives us the flexibility to add and drop any channel at any time. Whereas if you compare this with the static OADM, in that case we had pre-decided which wavelengths to drop and which wavelength to add. However, in this case, you can add and drop at any time, and any wavelength can be added or dropped. You can see on the left hand side you have n wavelengths signal, and then you are dropping channels and adding channels. However, the channels are not mentioned, which implies that you can drop any channel, you can add any channel, and then you are getting the multiplexer on the other side. Okay, so this is one of the most important device. It is a combination of an OADM and an optical switch. So it will add drop the signals, and it will also work as a switch. It will help you to switch an input wavelength into an output wavelength. So it can drop one or a desired number of channels after demultiplexing a wavelength multiplexed signal. It can also add a new signal or more channels through an optical switch. So the important takeaway from this is that the ROADM, unlike fixed or static OADM, will help us in adding or dropping the channels at any moment depending on the request or the demand. So then on the other side, the multiplexer unit will bring all the wavelength channels and give you a combined wavelength multiplexed output signal. So usually the ROADMs are constructed using fiber Bragg grating, FBG, or optical circulators. And these were covered in module 4. So by now you should know how the circulator will work. So basically the ROADMs will are used to provide uh, optical networks, mostly the simple ones, but they can also be used when the topology is a mesh and complex topology. The most important time when the ROADM is used is when the number of nodes is large. that means number of users is large. Okay. And in that case, we may require additional elements. Okay, and the ROIDM becomes very complex. So the time when the ROIDM is used for a very large number of nodes, and uh, when the network is very complex, like a mesh network, in that case, with the ROIDM, we also need to use what is known as an optical cross connect. This is another device which is used these days in all the optical networks, and this has a capability of switching the connection between two interfaced points. So we need to understand what is this two interfaced points. But before that, we just need to know why this OXC or optical cross connect is required. So even though you have ROADMs, which can which have proven to be useful for simple optical network topologies, uh, they have been found not to they have been found to not be that great or that useful when the topology is a mesh topology, a complex mesh topology, and in that case, when the topology is quite complex and has large number of nodes, these ROIDMs have been found to be not that useful. So even if you place them in the optical network with large nodes and mesh topology, the output that you get from the ROIDM is not good, and the cost increases. So therefore, such kind of networks really call for uh, ROIDMs with added features for network interconnection, and this kind of a device, the ROIDM with additional features, is what is known as the optical cross connect, which, as I have already stated, uh, is capable of switching connection between two interface points. Okay. I'll be taking the OXC in the next lecture because it is one of the most important devices. So I'll just give you I'll just give the students who are present here a couple of minutes to ask me any question if they want, and then I will just brush through whatever we have done today, and we'll be taking up OXC in tomorrow's lecture. So you have a couple of minutes to ask me any questions if you want. So since there are no questions, I'll quickly just revise uh, what we have seen thus far. So I'll quickly go back to yesterday's lecture as well, and there were a couple of important points which we saw in yesterday's lecture. So let's look at that lecture very quickly. So I gave you the syllabus. I introduced the students to the introduction of the optical networks. Uh, then this was one of the fiber network evolution, which was discussed, going from first generation to the second and the third generation. And what is the concept of the optical network? And this diagram is very important. It gave us a sense of light paths. So if you see, the dark lines are the physical link, that is, those are the optical fibers, whereas the dotted lines are basically the logical links, which are also known as the light path. So establishing a light path in an optical network is very important. So this is the whole idea of optical network: established light path between the source and the destination. So we looked at this, and we looked at how the nodes should function in this optical network structure. And then we looked at the terminology, the different kinds of topologies, the bus, ring, mesh, and the star. And we came to a conclusion that mesh is the best, however, it is the most complex. So I'll just skim through this. This was already covered. And then we looked at architecture, connection oriented, in which a path between source and destination is predetermined. Connectionless oriented, in which path between source and destination is defined as per the requirement. And then circuit switching and packet switching. In circuit switching, you send the data all together, whereas in packet switching, you send the data in forms of packets, which are then transmitted as a whole. And then we looked at the concept of virtual circuits, what these virtual circuits are. So this is something new which we had. So it is the incoming node and the outgoing nodes route do not match in virtual circuits. So you can have a virtual circuit which is provisional, or you can have a virtual circuit which is switched. And then network routing is what we saw. So how you can route the network control plane is used for selecting the path, and then how the data plane is used. So data plane is basically used for error correction and error detection. And most part of this comes from computer communication networks. And then we looked at modularity, uh, which basically which allows addition or reduction of networking nodes. And then we looked at modularity, scalability, which allows us to add devices at any particular point in time. So these are some of the aspects which we had seen yesterday, and today we saw some of the important switching elements. So we have already seen 4 switching elements. Now in tomorrow's lecture, we are going to see uh, one of the most important elements, switching elements, which is used in optical networks these days, and that is known as the optical crosstalk. So we'll proceed with the switching part tomorrow. So I'll be ending the lecture right now. If you have any questions, you can always contact me, or you can ask me tomorrow. Thank you.